Tin Man needs to get whipped into shape. Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Iron Man 2. Highly awaited sequel to Iron Man. So this movie picks up about 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. How long is this after the first Iron Man? Because this is also technically part 1 of Fury's Big Week, which is unknown when that takes place. Because this, The Incredible Hulk and Thor take place around that same time frame. In the same year. And we have this movie 6 months after the first. We have Thor a year before the Avengers. It's like, when do you take place? The collective fandom has actually made it so that it's 2 years after the first movie. Even though in storyline it doesn't make sense. But that's because Marvel didn't really do a good job of planning this. This kind of feels like the multiverse saga. Where's the plan? But we have Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man. Tony Stark and Iron Man. And my goodness, he once again kills it in this role. While this movie is not regarded as a highly favorable movie by many people, I will say that Robert Downey Jr. once again puts in a killer performance. Same with Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts. But we got someone new for Don Cheadle, aka War Machine. James Rhodes, who actually becomes War Machine in this movie. We have Don Cheadle instead of Terrence Howard because of the fact, I don't know why. I think it was because of the fact that Robert Downey Jr. needed to be paid more money and Terrence Howard didn't want to take a pay cut. So he was like, yeah, I'm walking. I like how they handle that in the movie because when he enters the movie, he's just like, look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on. I love that. That's the way you deal with it. Or, you know, the way that Captain America Brave New World will deal with it. Because the fact that in that movie, it's like, I shaved off the stash. But everyone who is returning from before is absolutely great. I will say that right now. While the script is all over the place, a really unfocused kind of, but also has some focus. But like, it barely has focus. It's like the script is basically taped together. The actors are not the problem at all. So next up, let's talk about another new addition to this roster, because we have the very super attractive Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. And my goodness, does she make an entrance. That's not really talking about her looks, but it kind of is, because she's so attractive. However, when she enters the scene, what she does during that scene, it's like, oh my, she is a force to be reckoned with. And she will be, indeed, until she dies on the planet in space. But Scarlett Johansson, I will say, just like, I know people are always like, oh, Chris Evans or, you know, Robert Downey Jr., but Scarlett Johansson is perfect casting as well. I can't see anyone else as Black Widow right then and there. She is absolutely perfect. So let's talk a little bit about the villains about this movie, because this movie has 2 villains and none of them are bait and switches. So starting off, we have, well, Justin Hammer. He is kind of like a little gay rat in this movie. He's a little prick. A gay prick. Let's say that. Let's call him a gay prick. Because apparently, according to the All Hail the King one-shot, it's actually confirmed that he's gay. I don't care. No matter what. Gay, straight, doesn't matter. He's just a little prick. But I thought I mentioned that as well. Just for the people who want, I don't know, representation. But Justin Hammer, he's just a little prick. That's basically how I can describe him. I mean, the actor does a good job portraying him. But like, he's not a threat or anything. He's just like this annoying little snake that just like, he bites you and then slithers away. It's like, guy, get back here and fight me like a man. And then in the distance you hear, no. So let's talk about the real villain here, the one that that everyone's talking about. Where is my bird? Whiplash. Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash, is the main bad guy of this movie, and I like him. I like him a lot, actually. I will say this. He's an improvement over the villain of the last movie. And if you watch my review, and I think also spoiler talk, I talked about the fact that basically this movie, in order to be better than the first, needed to have a good villain. But the problem is it has a messy plot. But this one has a better villain. It's still not a good villain, but that's because this movie is juggling so much. Also, I will say this. Happy Hogan gets a lot more to do, and he's comic relief in the movie, but he works in that way. Like in the first movie, he was just the driver, but now he actually kind of gets to do some small stuff, and it's just funny. He still doesn't have that big of a role. That won't be until we get introduced to Spider-Man. But overall, he is good as well. And of course, we have his Iron Man's papa, Howard Stark. Howard Stark, he was in the first movie, but he was basically mentioned passively. Like, oh, by the way, we have Howard Stark. You know, it was all Tony's show, but it's like, yeah, he's the son of the great Howard Stark. But this is all about Tony Stark. Now we actually get to deal with Howard as well, and the fact that Tony Stark has a lot of daddy issues. And I like how the movie handles that, but it's so stuffed. Because I'm gonna talk right now about the plot points, okay? So, number 1, we have Whiplash. We need to take care of Whiplash. Number 2, we have the fact that Tony is dying and needs to find a cure. Number 3, we have the Avengers stuff that's in the movie. I actually forgot the other plot points. I should have written them down. We'll get to that in spoiler talk, but like that's already 3. But we still have there are more plot lines in this movie outside of just Whiplash, the fact that he's dying, the fact that he has daddy issues, all that stuff. We still have other plot lines as well in this movie, and also the Avengers Initiative. Hey, there you go. I got now up to 4. I know that there's a 5th one. I just can't remember what it was. But it's just dealing with so much stuff, and that just drags this movie down. Now, it doesn't make the movie bad. I want to say that. To me, it's not a bad movie. The actors are really like Robert Downey Jr., Don Cheadle, Gwyneth Paltrow, Scarlett Johansson, and even Jon Favreau, who is also the director. And, Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson, John Slattery as Howard Stark. They're all kind of holding this movie up for me, personally. Because overall... Oh, and also we have Mikey Rourke as Whiplash. And Sam Rockwell is Justin Hammer. There you go. But they're all kind of holding up the movie, while the movie itself is just way too cramped. This just talking about it in the nowadays context, this should have been a Disney Plus show, because that's how you would have been able to explore all this stuff. It's like they wanted to do too much, and sometimes when you do too much, bigger isn't always better. Let's say that, okay? Bigger isn't always better. Alright, sometimes you don't need the sequel to be this big movie with 500 plot lines that just don't work, that barely work together and feel like they were basically stitched together with duct tape and just barely holding on for dear life. But overall, like I said, I did enjoy this movie because there's also good stuff in the movie. I mean, you have Whiplash, who I like, but he is very underused because he basically is he shows up, gets beaten, then it kind of becomes a background villain until the end of the movie. And it's if we didn't have the other 15 plot lines, we could have focused more on him and Iron Man, because there's a story there that just doesn't really get its time to shine. We also have, obviously, like I said, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, once again killing it in the role. We have, Don Cheadle takes up the War Machine role. And while I don't really think that there's a big difference between Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle in the role of War Machine, where it's even if Terrence Howard was still part of the MCU, he probably would have done the same way. They both technically killed it. However, I will say, couldn't they have hired a black guy that at least had the kind of the same skin color as Terrence Howard in order to make the switch not that drastic? Because it's oh my god, he got burnt. That was what I thought, because by the way, that's not being racist, just throwing it out there. But I think Don Cheadle is fantastic as in the role of War Machine. So let's just get into the final verdicts of this movie, because I want to talk spoilers. I think it's better just when I get to let myself go loose and talk spoilers. This is mainly just me going a bit more professional. The spoiler talk will be up in about an hour or so, I don't know. And yeah, so my final verdict for Iron Man 2 is gonna be a good old-fashioned. Now this one it barely reaches this, I will say that right now. It barely reaches it, but a 7 out of 10. I will say that it's a 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, there's a lot of problems, but I think that the acting of the actors holds it up. So, there you go. That was my review of Iron Man 2. So, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about Iron Man 2. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you in between? Or did you love it? Or did you just hate it? Let me know all that stuff down below. And with that being said, if you guys have enjoyed, and if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you're not already, turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out my Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And I'll see you guys in less than an hour for my spoiler talk of Iron Man 2. And what we will be talking about next will be the Incredible Hulk. Bye!